Unit 3, Lesson 7 on condensation. This is our investigation or our lab that we're going to be doing this unit. Um, Condensation, remember, is the process by which water vapor in the air is changed into liquid water. And the picture here on the screen, you can see the condensation happening here on, it looks to be a window. Here's our calendar for December. The investigation is officially assigned on Monday, December 4th. Then you will have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to work on the investigation. I would like you to start uploading your assignments or your lab sheet into the Dropbox on Wednesday so that I have time to get them graded and all in the grade book before the end of the semester because it's coming up so quickly. So please make sure to get those experiments completed and in the Dropbox by Wednesday, and then we will begin to start reviewing for our unit exam on the 13th. This is a flow chart that talks about the scientific method. So anytime we are working with an experiment or investigation, we're going to use the steps of the scientific method. So as you can see up here is the first step, which says choose a problem. So you're just going to state the problem as a question. So what is the question? What are you experimenting with? Then you're going to research that problem. Read, get advice, make observations. This is step number 2. Step number 3, develop a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a prediction or an educated guess about what you think is going to happen, and you want to document that. So write that down on your your lab sheet. And then step number 4, design an experiment. Plan how you're going to test your hypothesis. You think this is what's going to happen. Now, how are you going to experiment and prove or disprove what you think or what your hypothesis is? Step number 5, test your hypothesis. So now this is where you're going to conduct the experiment. But as you're working and conducting, you want to record all the data. Record meaning write it down. Jot down notes as you're going. Document what you are finding. Step number 6, you're going to take all those findings that you documented and recorded, and you're going to create a chart or a graph to show what you learned in that experiment, what worked, what didn't work, what findings you had, and really organize all that information. Step number 7, draw conclusions. This is where you're going to take all that information you learned in your experiment and you're going to summarize it so that you can tell others what you learned. So what did you learn? Analyze that and summarize it. As you're conducting your investigation or your experiment, remember the 3 different states of water and how they can change depending on the temperature. So remember, those molecules can move at different paces, and that changes the state of the water. So as the warmer the water is, it can change into that water vapor. More room temperature, it's going to be a liquid, and then as it gets colder, it can turn into ice or the solid. So as you go to start your investigation, make sure that you open lesson 3.07. You're going to follow the directions step by step. you're going to want to print or save the Word document because that is your lab sheet. As you're following those directions, you're going to record your observations. You're going to be drawing what you see, writing out what you see. That's what you're going to turn into the Dropbox when you're finished. I have made a video to help you get started and know exactly what to do. You can find that also in lesson 3.07. So please make sure to go through each piece and each step there in that lesson. So here is your investigation document. So if you print this out and write on your sheet, then you can just scan it back in and then put it in the Dropbox, or you can save this to your computer and type in your answers and then put your assignment into the Dropbox when you are finished. Either way is fine. But this is going to tell you exactly what materials you're going to need to complete the investigation. And here you can see where part 1 begins, and it's going to tell you what to do to get the investigating rolling. So you're going to place those 2 cups next to each other, and you're going to fill one of the cups with about 3/4 full of ice, and then pour room temperature water to completely cover the ice. And then this will be your experimental cup. And then the other cup is going to be just water, no ice. Okay, so the second cup, you're going to pour the water level the same as the liquid in the first cup. This is going to be your control cup. Throughout the investigation, you're going to leave your control cup the same. Don't mess with it. And then you're going to experiment with your experimental cup. So once you have your ice in your experimental cup and your water in your other control cup, you're going to wait about 3 minutes and then observe both cups of water. Touch the outside of the cup. How does it look? Then draw what you're seeing. You're going to draw that in the box. Okay, remember this is part of your grade. You're going to draw what you're observing, and then down below there will be a place for you to type what you observed. Make sure that you're using complete sentences and that you're really letting me know what you observed. If you just type 1 or 2 words, then I'm not going to know your observations. Please be thorough. Then you're going to move on to part 2 of the investigation, where you're going to be reflecting and exploring. So this is really your hypothesis. Remember, we talked about that scientific method. This is where you're going to bring in your hypothesis, your educated guess. It says the moisture on the outside of the experimental cup is condensation. What is it? Where do you think it came from? Why didn't it appear on the control cup? Record your thinking below. So this is where you're going to write in complete sentences your thinking or your hypothesis. Next, you're going to design your experiment. This is where you get to choose how you're going to test your hypothesis. Do you think the condensation came from inside the cup, outside the cup? How could you find out? You're going to make a plan or an experiment for testing your idea. What will you do to the experimental cup? Remember, not to change the control cup. We're only working with the experimental cup. So in complete sentences, you're going to tell me what you're going to do for your experiment. Then you will conduct your experiment, your plan, and record your results below. So test your hypothesis, and then you're going to really document and write down your data, your notes. Finally, you're going to draw conclusions. So now that you've designed your experiment, you've conducted your experiment, you have your information and data, where does the condensation come from? Why do you think it appeared on the cup? with ice. What are some examples of condensation around us in our world? So summarize with complete sentences your conclusion from the experiment. So once you have completed all the steps on your lab sheet for the investigation, you're going to put that in the Dropbox. So if you go to lesson 3.07, there will be an area for you to click and upload your investigation. Okay, so this here where I've circled is where you would click that blue link. It's going to take you to the Dropbox, and then you would upload your investigation, and then I will be grading those. Those are teacher graded assignments, so I have to grade everybody's. It may take me a little bit, so make sure to get it in there because we have to have them graded by the end of the semester. So make sure that you get that uploaded and complete by the due date. All right, so we have come to the end of lesson 3.06. Please make sure to complete this lesson in your science course. Make sure that you're checking your email, your announcements, and your grade book, and that all your work is complete.